Hello and welcome to Edikimi's YouTube channel and editorial discussion for 26th May 2022. My name is Harsh Singh and in this video we shall discuss an editorial from yesterday's The Hindu which is titled Lessons from Russia for India. Since the Russia-Ukraine war is ensuing, mistakes have been committed from either of the sides and there are a lot of learnings, tactical strategic learnings for India so that these type of mistakes do not get repeated. This article and discussion is important from the perspective of security, GS paper 3. If you like this initiative, share some love through likes, comments and shares. Let's discuss. Before we understand what have been the claims, what have been the counter claims or learnings, we must understand the kind of losses that have happened to life and property. See, Ukraine says, a claim from Ukraine, that by the first week of May, Russia lost as many as 25,000 personnel. 25,000 people of Russia personnel, they lost lives. This could be disputed. However, what cannot be disputed is what lies on the ground. What lies on the ground are 3,000 armored personnel vehicles. What lies on the ground is around 400 downed aircrafts, helicopters, and fighter planes. 1000 plus tanks, and this was the first week of May itself, and this can never be refuted because it is lying on the ground. So what has been the cause of this kind of such a huge loss to Russia? See, why is it important is because India has also imported huge quantity of defense supplies from Russia. Is there some fault in such defense supplies? We need to learn that. Now there are three claims which are being said overall. First is that battle tanks have become useless. Why? Because these armored vehicles and tanks, a lot of them were lost in this war, so they have been useless anymore in the future wars. The second is emerging technologies, the digital technologies, cyber warfare, or the loiter ammunition technologies, UAVs. They have become far better than the traditional technology of fighter planes, warship, artilleries. And the third claim is that the air power is no more of a lot of use. We must use some new technologies. But then, are these three claims important? What are the learnings? Let's understand this. See, the first is battle tanks. Battle tanks, wherever they go, they must be accompanied with the infantry force. That means Pedal Sena. Wherever the tanks go, they have enormous firepower. They have defense for whatever is placed inside the tank. They also have huge capabilities of mobility. They can move around at 60, 70 kilometers per hour. But then they must be associated with infantry, Pedal Sena also, because when an anti-aircraft gun, anti-tank gun, it attacks the tank, they need to be defended. The tank needs to be defended by the manual, by the personnel on the ground, and this was not present. This was a tactical error, and that's the reason that many of the tanks, they were lost in the war. More than 1000 tanks lost. Now, to what? To anti-tank javelin missiles. So the conclusion is this, that the tanks are not obsolete, just that the tactical mistake happened by Russia, and it happened again and again, time and again. So battle tanks are really credible forces on the ground. However, they must be used along with tactics, right, which were not used by Russia, and therefore they lost an enormous number of them. So India having battle tanks, Arjun and etc., this is quite good for the future. The second is emerging technologies. See, emerging technologies led to a lot of loss for Russia. I'll give you an example. This is Donets River in eastern region of Ukraine, and Russia wanted to cross this particular river, Donets River. They couldn't do it because Ukraine had destroyed the bridge that it had over here so that Russian forces couldn't cross. But later, what Russia did was that it built a floating bridge called as pontoon bridge. It built a floating bridge. But what Ukraine did every time was that with the help of drones, it would again impose an attack here. And this led to the loss of at least 500 personnel of Russia. 500. And what you can see here is at least 50 armored vehicles of Russia which have been lost, and many images, Google images and other images taken from above are a proof of this. So the win is of the drone technology. So it is being said that the emerging technologies like drone, cyber warfare, remember in the beginning of warfare there was a lot of misinformation warfare, and loiter munitions, UAVs, all these have actually done well. So is it a reality that the far more expensive warships, fighter planes, artillery weapons, they are useless for the future times? This is actually not true. This could be an assumption, that could be a claim, but this is not true. See, the emerging technologies can at best, they can aid the legacy platforms. They can enhance them, but they cannot replace them. We need the launch vehicle. No, we can only make precision attacks with the help of IT, information technology, digital technology. Or we can also make things easier through communication, intelligence networks, surveillance, reconnaissance, reduce decision time with the help of emerging technologies. But can we shoot down an aircraft? No, we will need the traditional technology as well. Can we impose warfare through warships? No, not without just emerging technologies. So both are required. India will need the traditional technology and emerging technologies both. All right. So what is required is that Russia should have maintained infantry forces again on the ground to protect its assets. That's what was required. They committed mistakes time and again in this particular war. It is also being said that Russia lost an equal number of, or even more number of forces in Ukraine and its assets in Ukraine than what it lost in 9 years in Afghanistan war occupation. The third is air power is not consequential. See, Russia could not use a lot of air power. So it is being said that possibly air power is rendered useless. Whenever, whenever a country wants to impose an attack on the other country, for example, India imposing an attack on Pakistan, India needs to put down the Pakistani air defense system before its Sukhoi planes can actually get into Pakistan and do some harm. Russia could not do this. Russia could not suppress the enemy air defense, that is the Ukrainian air defense, and that is why Russia could not use the air power, right? So what was required was that the Russia should have used its air force, but before that, having the enemy air defense rendered ineffective. Only after that Russia could not do it, and that is why it had to curtail its operations only in the Donbas region and Black Sea region. That is the Crimean Peninsula region, right? So this is a third thing. This was a claim that air power is useless, but it is not so. We have to render the enemy air defense useless first, right? See, Russia, if you remember, during the first second week of the warfare, there were stories around saying that 60-kilometer long convoy of Russia with armored vehicles being spotted with the satellites. See, long lines of communication and long military columns. This happened, but Russia could not give them aid, could not give them assistance, could not give them supplies of ammunition, food for weeks and weeks. And all these forces, they got segregated because they went deep interior into Kiev and other places, and they were not supplied, they were not reinforced, and it led to lethal interdiction, lethal they it just led to the death of the forces. And what was the future for Russian forces was low morale and poor command competence. Low morale and poor command competence. When the command of Russian forces was not very good, it led to low morale of the people, and then military effectiveness was poor. It is being heard all around that Russian forces are not doing very well, and that is the reason they have confined themselves to the Donbas region itself. So this is nothing. See, military effectiveness of command competence and no morale is got nothing to do with technology, nothing to do with logistics. It is more to do with what tactics were used, and they were not used properly, right? Military commands and flow of command, chain of command, it was not done properly. So the lessons that are learned for any country if imposing warfare or defending warfare is: one, to invest more in the emerging technologies like sensors, electronic warfare, digitize the system. Information warfare is also a form of warfare. Satellite communication, unmanned air vehicles and systems, loiter munitions. This is the first lesson. Second, use them not only to defend or reconnaissance, go and just check, right? But use them for attack missions as well. Ukraine did this, right? And we cannot do away with the legacy platforms. The fighter planes cannot be disposed of, or the naval systems, the aircraft carriers cannot be disposed of. They are also important, but then can we make them very, very lethal with the help of the emerging technologies? Yes, absolutely. That's the learning. Now, uh, need for greater missile force. India needs more missile force for future warfare, and India needs integrated battle groups, right? Integrated battle groups, small battle groups, which will have pedal and also, which will have the armored also, that means the vehicle forces, which will also be able to use drone technology. They also should be able to use medicine. They also should be able to have the bridges laid immediately, and they should also be able to have supplies, right? So, a integrated ecosystem, a small ecosystem of say 100, 200, 500 personnel, and they should be able to do everything together. This is called as integrated battle group, and that is a subset of a theater command. See, this has been an important military reform that India has wanted. Now, there's another news which we'll discuss in current affairs someday. That is on CDS. The position of CDS has been reconsidered by the government. There are some issues in the whole management of this position. So we will understand this issue in totality some other time. But then what's important is to have integrated battle group. Now, a conclusion for an article like this could be something like this. See, no amount of advanced technology can substitute or compensate for low morale and training, weak command, poor tactics and strategy, right? So what we need is advanced technology for the country, and India already has got high morale and training strategy tactics for the military command. See, why is it important for India to develop itself in advanced technology? Is because India has already got a huge workforce, around 12 to 14 lakh workforce of Indian Army itself, the second largest army around the whole world. Just second or third, just because Indian Army has got good attrition rate right now. We need to curtail down the forces also, right? So USA, India, China, the top three armies. India has already got huge workforce. All we need to do is make them more effective by giving them advanced technologies. So these are the lesson learned, right? A quick recap of this is battle tanks have not been rendered useless, just that we have to use them smartly with the infantry forces. Second, emerging technologies are important for a country like India. Use them well with the traditional war sets like legacy platforms. Air power is important, and we have to neutralize the enemy air defense, and we also need to maintain the technology along with the morale of the workforce. All right, so this is the learning for all the nations which could indulge themselves in war. A quick question for you: state four learnings from Russia's military offense on Ukraine. Simple question, but then exercise your brain. It will be a great exercise while you write down in the comment section the answer to this. And if you got some questions, put it down in the comment section. You like this initiative, share some love through likes, comments and shares. Thank you for watching.